Hello and welcome to Wheel Thing TV. I'm Dave Knoll. In this week's episode we are checking out the 2016 Toyota Camry Atara SL, the first of the last of the Camrys for Australia. When I say Australia, I mean Australian built. We will be continuing to have the Camry from overseas manufacturing. Yes folks, this is a Toyota Camry. Have a look at the front end. Is a bit of a redesign, to say the least, for the car. The front end, of course, being a substantially redesigned look to the whole thing. And you can see it's very swoopy, almost a little bit of a pretty car, one might say. But it also does hark back to Toyota's luxury brand, Lexus, from a few years ago. In this particular case, though, the whole body, bar the roof and the window line, is brand new. And for the first time on a Toyota, or the Camry at least, 18-inch rims. Around the back as well, as you can see, there's been a redesign, and it's a very, very pert looking car overall. And quite frankly, for the fact that it is a Toyota Camry, a lot of people will sneeze at it. I like it. It's got Toyota's now familiar sort of wavy, swoopy design to the line of the dash along here, but there is a little bit of incohesiveness. This particular section, as you can see, is all nicely stitched. Little bit hard to the touch still. It could probably do with a bit more soft. And then we've got this particularly unusual kind of almost tyre black grey to the plastic, and yet when it's closed they actually don't line up, and it really does look a little bit incohesive. As you can see, there's a little bit of a mismatch in the way that the design and the actual finish looks. Another thing that's noticeable inside the Camry's front cabin is you've got this ridgeline for the glove box and underneath the driver's position. Now I'm in a fairly comfortable position to drive at the moment. I've got the wheel like that because I turned the car off earlier, but there's not a whole lot of room between the knee and the steering column, which doesn't excite me terribly much. A major issue is this particular plastic here reflects up into the windscreen, and ergonomically it is a little bit of a mess. You've got a few buttons sort of where, you know, you've got your parking sensor buttons here and a couple of other buttons for traction control and blind spot monitoring, and the radar cruise control setup as well. Just maybe not where they should be. You know, they just look like they're a little bit out of place. But you do get some nice quality plastic finish just here. That looks absolutely beautiful. It feels alright, but the whole cabin just seems a little bit hit and miss. Another slightly unusual way of doing things in this particular car, these are the radio selection dials for both the pre-stored stations, but you can also use these ones to seek through, which personally I would have preferred just to have had separately over here as they are, rather than here, because then you can have your stored stations up and down, volume up and down, rather than having the volume up and down as separate buttons there. But a nice little nod towards the Toyota logo, the T here, reflected straight in there as well. It's Toyota's familiar 2.5 litre VVT engine, pumping out 133 kilowatts in some models. In this particular case, 135 kilowatts, thanks to the dual rear pipes on this particular car. Being the size of the car that it is, it's a large car, classified as a mid-car because of the fact it has a 4-cylinder engine. Doesn't stop it from having an absolutely huge boot. You could just about park a barbecue and have a party for 4 in there, it's that big. On the road, the Atara is, surprisingly enough, more like a sports car. It's got very taut suspension in there. It'll give you a little bit of a bounce. It's not the smoothest of rides across unsettled surfaces, but when you're on a nice flat road and sort of winding up to about 100-110 kilometres an hour, it's very smooth, very quiet, and tracks fairly well. Pushed into a roundabout, it will understeer, and quite badly, to say the least. Otherwise, the steering ratio is pretty reasonable. Sometimes it does feel as it should be a little bit tighter coming into certain turns. Acceleration, well, up to about 100, it seems fairly rapid. Above that, it does run out and get a little bit breathless. Most of the torque in this case produce sort of around the 3,000 to 4,000 RPM peak torque, or around 4.5 from memory. It's a great little car to drive, and certainly it's been a lot of fun seeing that Toyota can actually do something so wonderful. As usual though, it's so sad to see that this is going to be the best car, but it's the last car as well. For Wheel Thing TV, I'm Dave Knoll.